Great American Homemaker, starring Vicki Lawrence, with special guests Beverly Nye, Pam Young, Peggy Jones, Fran Lee, Sherry Chastain, and Dr. Lynn Ketai.
Hello, and welcome to another show. You know, I need to get something off my chest. What do you think is the worst nightmare a homemaker could face? And no, it is not having your souffle fall in the oven. And no, it is not that half-eaten creature that your cat or your dog drags in from the backyard, although that's pretty disgusting. Candace Bergen brought me half a rabbit last week. It was wonderful. She enjoyed it. You know what's even worse than that? Door-to-door salesman. I had one come by my house yesterday. He was trying to sell me a snow blower. Now, granted, it's a great product, very functional, very useful, but I live in Los Angeles, folks. What am I going to do with a snow blower? He tried to convince me that it was a great investment, that I'd be prepared for that fluke snowstorm that sweeps through Los Angeles once every 150 years or so. Tried to tell me in the meantime that I could use it to blow the dust off my furniture. Now, can you see me running a snowblower across the top of the coffee table? It took me 3 hours to convince this jerk that I didn't need it. Well, enough of my belly aching. Let's get on with the show. We've got a great one planned for you today. Barbara Salisbury has some great advice on getting the most out of your grocery budget. Joseph Hornell will be along with some sensational tips for making your garden grow and thrive. And one of our handy women, Gina Neller, will show you how to properly fasten that stubborn hanging plant to your ceiling. Beverly Nye will help you create authentic Mexican soup. But first, here's attorney Ronnie Livia with some sound advice on writing wills.
This rather official-looking document is a last will and testament, formally prepared in a lawyer's office. You may wonder if it's necessary to use a lawyer to draw up your will, or if it's okay to just write out your wishes on a sheet of paper and leave it in your desk drawer. Well, it's important to remember that for a will to be valid, it must meet certain legal requirements of the state where you live. If your will does not meet these legal requirements, it won't be valid, and your wishes won't be followed. Instead, your property will go to certain family members according to formulas set out in your state's laws. Each state has its own requirements which must be met to make a will legal. These include the number of necessary witnesses to a will and special statements that may have to be made in the will. There are also age requirements for disposing of both real and personal property by will. And legal language may be needed, for instance, to create a trust. This is when property is put under the care of a trustee for the benefit of someone else. Such a trust would not be valid if the proper language were not used. There are also certain things you cannot do in a will. For example, you can only transfer property that is in your name alone. And in most states, you cannot completely cut off your spouse in your will. Preparing a will can be a complicated matter, and you want to be sure your wishes will be followed when you're no longer around to make sure they are. So you must be sure your will is legal under your state's laws. I'm Ronnie Livia, and remember, the law works for you.
This is very good advice. You know, I've tried to get Al to do the will for years, and finally, last year, I refused to go on vacation with him if he wouldn't get the will finished, so he was forced to get it together. And now I'm finding that even things that we planned a year ago, I'm not going to go on vacation with him next week until we get that thing updated. It changes all the time. It's really a pain, but it's very important to do it. Anyway, on the lighter side, when we come back, we will show you a south-of-the-border recipe from Beverly Nye, so stay with us. Well, guess what? Beverly Nye is here today with a sopa fiesta. First, I thought she was going to be giving us laundry tips, but it smells too good for that. Aquí está, Señora Beverly.
Hello, everyone. I hope you like soup at your house as much as we do. You know, soup's good for you, and we should eat it often. Lots of ways you can serve soup. And you know, they tell us that you don't gain as much weight if you eat soup periodically, so we like to stick that in our diets now and then. But there are so many varieties of soup, and I'm going to add even another one to your collection. We like Mexican food so much at our house, so I put all the Mexican things together and came up with what we call sopa fiesta. Now, it's easy and inexpensive and good for you, so get out your pencils and jot this down. I hope that you're keeping some chicken broth on hand because that's the basis of this soup. And if you don't have any right now, you can always take a couple of chicken breasts and cover it with 2 or 3 quarts of water, throw in a carrot, celery, and onion, and let it simmer for an hour or so, and you'll have all the nice rich broth that you could want. Now, that's going to be about right because it'll give you just the amount of meat that you'll want for this soup, too. So once you do that, and you can do that any old time you got a few spare minutes, get some stock cooking, and then keep those bottles in your freezer. Now notice mine are not quite full, and that's for expansion. Anytime you freeze a liquid, you want to leave some room because it does expand, and you don't want to crack your jar. So I fill that up with my stock and put my meat in a little bag, and I'm all set to go. Get out your soup kettle, and we'll whip up this Mexican soup real fast, and you'll see how good it is. We do need 2 quarts of the broth as our base. And we'll just pour that in there. Ooh, it's such a nice, rich broth. 2 chicken breasts to that much water, and then the carrot, celery, and onion just give you a good, rich broth. And then to that, we're going to add some cut-up chicken, or you could even use some turkey if you got some left over, and want about 1.5 cups of the meat. And then I use a can of the little green chilies, the chopped green chilies, and ooh, that adds that Mexican taste. Just makes my mouth water to think about this. And this is good winter or summer, so it's got another benefit going for it. Now we want 1 can of corn, or you could use a package of the frozen corn. But if you do open a can of corn, use liquid and all, because there's a lot of nutrition in there. I just don't like to see people drain off all those good broths. And about 1 cup of zucchini. Now, I don't think people realize the nutrients that are in a zucchini either, and they're low in calories, so we ought to include those a lot. And it gives a nice little color to our soup. A little bit of onion, 1 tablespoon or so for flavor. And you're just going to dump all this together, and about 1.5 cups of tomatoes. Now, if you got some home canned soup, or if not, open you a little can of tomatoes. We should always have those on hand because they're the basis of so many dishes. And now we're going to put in 1/2 cup of the old-fashioned long cooking rice. Just dump it in raw. You don't even have to pre-cook that. And stir that up a little bit. Want just a shake of black pepper, and you know me, I like the coarse ground. And a pinch of cumin. Now, literally a pinch, that's about what you want. And that's that good Mexican seasoning. Now, you don't need an awful lot of seasonings in this because you've already got your green chilies. And now you can put just a little shake of salt if you want. You don't even have to put any because I usually serve chips with this, and then that gives you your salt. Stir your ingredients together real well, and then you're just going to plop a lid on that. Turn your heat up, bring it to a boil, and then turn the heat down and just let it simmer, and give it maybe 45 minutes for your rice to plump up and cook up. Ooh, it is the best stuff. Take a look at this dish and see how good it looks. Doesn't that look yummy? And it's got all the vegetables in it. It's got your basic starch. Your rice is good for you, and it's got your meat. So everything you could want. Now whip you up a tossed salad to go with that, so you've got some fresh things and some chips, and that's your whole meal. Now, too often we overlook Mexican food because we think that's a fast food or a snack kind of thing, and that's not really the case. It's a good, basic, nutritional meal. You know, Mexican food uses a lot of the beans and the cheeses and all those things that we should incorporate in our diet. We spend so much on groceries today, and we can cut down if we use a little bit of imagination, eat the healthier things, make good old homemade things, things that we forget about, and you can really whip those up as fast as the convenience foods. Enjoy a bowl of soup today, especially our Mexican kind. I know you'll love it, and it'll be good for you, too. I hope you enjoyed this recipe.
Yum. Thanks, Beverly. Barbara Salisbury will be joining us on The Great American Homemaker with shopping tips right after this. Don't go away. Next guest believes that supermarket shoppers and circus performers have a lot in common. They both have to learn to do a balancing act. Here with some important advice on how to have well-balanced meals while we balance our budgets is our shopper extraordinaire, our good friend Barbara Salisbury, with a new concept on dividing your grocery budget. Huh? We're going to divide budgets today.
We're going to pretend we're back in school.
Okay.
Pen, pencil.
All right. So what are we going to do here?
The concept is that the economy is really hurting a lot of people today. And that in order to exist, in order to be able to go to the store and not only buy groceries, but have decent nutrition in the things that you buy, you've got to be able to stretch that grocery budget to the nth degree. And that's an important concept just right there, because how many times have you heard people say, my food budget?
Yeah.
It's grocery budget, because that includes detergents and the whole gauntlet, not just food. So if we take our grocery budget and look at that, that's what we're going to be dealing with. And so let's pretend, just for the fun of it, that you have a grocery budget of $40 per month.
Oh my
$40
God.
per month, that just arbitrarily to work
No,
with.
I'd look like Christy Brinkley, but well, go ahead.
I suggest that you take that $40 and divide it into 4 specific areas that we deal $10 or a portion of for meat, protein sources. Then you take another $10 to deal with produce, fruits, vegetables. Another $10 or portion of for staples, such as cereal. What are you going to be eating? The shortening, bread, milk, that type of thing. That leaves you $10 to be able to go to the store and take advantage of the bargains. And so if we're dealing with this, you can simply take whatever amount your budget that you have and not just go to the store with a list. Not just go and say, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, but actually sit down when you're reading the ads, and very soon we're going to learn how to read the ads.
Oh, good.
And we're going to sit, isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
We're going to sit down and you can take your budget, I don't care, whatever amount that you have to work with, and divide it so that you can be able to buy protein sources. If you don't want meat, then the cheese, the beans, that type of thing.
Tofu.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. The produce, whatever is the best buy at the right time so that you can have the balance in there, then whatever staples suit your needs. That is so important because we have so many people with different needs. And then this, $10, you can take advantage of the loss leaders, even on a restricted, tight budget. You can take advantage of the bargains that are there and stretch this budget till it screams.
And how often are you figuring you go to the market? Once a week?
No, that
Once a month?
depends. It will be different. Some of us get paid every 2 weeks, some once a week, some once a month, and you adjust this.
So you have to fix your budget according to how often
Right,
you go.
right.
And then, like you said the other day, if you have planning chicken for dinner and the pork chops are on sale, then you can take advantage of that and put that down into your bargain area.
Right.
Or your produce area if you want something that's out of season. Or
But by having
Something like
a
that.
strict guideline, you can shuffle within this, and you're still going to come out ahead, rather than just arbitrarily going to the store with a list. This will bring it down so that it will work for you.
Right. I'm going to have to get real organized to talk to Pam and Peggy about this one now. Thanks for coming in today. Thanks for that's a good tip.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Barbara. Now, I don't know about you, but I love the look of hanging plants in my home. But I kept putting up nails in my stucco ceiling, and I'd hang my huge Boston ferns on them, and when I'd come home, I'd find them splattered all over the carpeting, and my dog, Candace Bergen, would be having the time of her life playing in the spilled dirt. Well, I would try to accuse Candace of pulling the plants out of the ceiling, but she wasn't the problem. The nail was. So I decided to tackle the problem by changing the look to floor plants. Well, today, Gina Neller, our handy woman, has a better solution. She's going to explain exactly what wall fasteners to use to meet your needs.
One of the most common and vexing questions that arises in the whole area of home repair is how to select the proper fastener to attach something to or from the wall. When you're going directly into the wood, like these bookshelves or door frames, it's really no problem. A simple nail or screw will do the job for you. However, when you're going into the hollow walls that most homes are made of, you need to be a little bit more sophisticated in your choice of fastener. I've prepared a display of some of the more common ones here for you. The first is the toggle bolt. It operates on a spring. You cut a hole in the wall and slip the closed toggle through. When it gets inside, it expands inside the wall or ceiling. This particular piece is ideal for hanging things from the ceiling. It will carry a great deal of weight. The next is the gravity toggle. It doesn't operate on a spring. It operates on gravity. It punches its own hole. It is self-tapping. And it's used primarily for putting things in hollow core doors. The next is a molly bolt. This is also self-tapping. You don't need to cut a hole for it. You hammer it into the wall, and then you use a screwdriver to tighten the bolt inside. As you do that, it scrunches up these metal pieces against the back of the wall
It will hold a fair amount of weight, and this piece is usually used for hanging mirrors or heavy pictures. The next is a plastic anchor, and it will hold only a slight amount of weight. You knock a hole in the wall and slip this plastic piece into that hole, and then insert the screw in the hole in the plastic piece and tighten it up. As you do that, it expands the leaves of the plastic piece to grip the inside of the hole. The next here is a plastic molly. It holds only a light amount of weight. You cut a hole for it, slip it through, and as you screw the screw in, it expands inside the wall. And the last is a lead anchor. It operates very much like the plastic anchor, but it is used primarily for attaching things in concrete or brickwork. If you stop and think for a moment and consider the weight of what you're hanging and the substance you're hanging it on, whether it's wood or a hollow wall, you'll be better able to select the proper fastener for the job.
Stopping and thinking were the key words in that sentence for me. Lord knows I've tried. And well, now that you know how to hang your plants with those little toggle bolts, we're going to be back in a flash with some fantastic gardening tips from Joseph Bornell, so don't go away. You know, we often describe a successful gardener as someone who has a green thumb. I know I used to have a lady that helped me with the kids when they were babies named Martha, and she would just look at my plants and they would flourish. And now that she's gone, I struggle so to keep them alive. Well, how many of you out there have been getting the feeling that green isn't exactly the right color to describe your thumb? Are you convinced that you can kill houseplants just by looking at them? Well, Joseph has a few good pointers on how to keep your plants alive.
Hi. I'm Joseph. Welcome to my garden. What I'm going to talk about today is proper care. Now that you've brought home your plant, I'm going to show you how to take care of it. We're going to take all the mystery out of it so that you and the plant will thrive. Keeping plants going is not a big mystery. As a matter of fact, when you bring home that plant for the first time, remove any debris that's there. You might even do that in wherever you buy it. As a matter of fact, if a plant has too many dead leaves, don't even touch it. Take a close look at it. Look down inside the small little stems. See if there are any little crawlies fooling around in there. If they have, just put the plant aside. Don't bring home an infested plant. And it's worth your while, no matter what the price is, just checking it out. The other thing is, read the instructions. It won't hurt to read them several times. Learn, as a matter of fact, the botanical name of the plant. In this case, it's a different Bacchia. Like, just get acquainted with it. Say hello to it. This is your new roommate. This is somebody you just married. This is somebody you're going to live with a long time. And I'll tell you something, the plant's going to teach you about schedules. If you don't meet its schedule, it's going to go limp on you. I guarantee it. The same thing for this and all of these plants. Both these plants, by the way, do not like sun. Don't put them in the sun. Keep them in a nice shade. In the summertime, you can put them out. They'll thrive beautifully for you. Also, they'll get a lot larger. You won't be able to keep them together. As a matter of fact, in 6 months, this plant will be 4 or 5 times as long as it is right now as a vine. So proper care is important. The theme here is keep them alive, make them thrive. But I'll show you how to do it. The other thing is, on watering and fertilizing, you're going to have to be careful. I recommend, for plants like this, an ordinary fish fertilizer. It's a liquid. I put it in a spritz bottle like this. And I don't use full strength. I never do. The other thing is there are several ways to water. You can water it this way, by soaking it this way and letting it drip dry, or you can also water it as a companion like this. Spritz the whole thing. Just give it a nice shot. I'll tell you what, the plants absolutely love it. They love the hit they get off of it. As a matter of fact, they'll bloom 4 or 5 times as fast by giving them a spritz. As a matter of fact, once a day wouldn't hurt. If you had 2 or 3 plants like this, you could certainly afford to walk by and bang, 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 give them a spritz like that. They'll thank you for it. No kidding. They'll just flourish like crazy. The other thing is this. These plants require light. They need light to flourish. You can't put these in a windowless room. It won't work. They need to be near light. So consider that factor. If they're on your coffee table, and if they're in a dark place, you can keep them in a dark place for a couple of days. But after that, place them in a place where they can get maybe 3 or 4 days of light a week. That wouldn't hurt at all. The other thing about plants is this. Get to kind of be sentimental with them. Get to kind of be kind of close with them. Get to play with them. When you look at a plant like this and you haven't watered in a couple of days, take your finger, put it inside there. I tell you, you'll see. Your finger will tell you, this plant's absolutely dry. Water me. Give me some vitamins. Also, you know what the bonus is on this? It's the exercise of you taking care of something else. The exercise is returning you to nature, of having you play in the soil, having you get a little bit dirty. Those of you people that live in apartments, buy a half a dozen of these and play around with them. The feeling you get from it is worth it. It's great, and it's also great therapy. This is Joseph. This is my garden. Keep your thumbs green.
Well, you know, I'm probably the only person in the world who could kill an artificial plant. I don't know how Joseph keeps his garden so green. Well, it's time to close the book on another week here. I hope you're enjoying. Listen, we're still getting lots of letters. Here's one from Yolanda Renteria from Woodley, California, and she says, I watched your program on 2984, and you had a section on shoes. A Fine and Klein outlet in New York was mentioned. May I please have their address? Well, Yolanda, you write to us, which you did, and we're going to send you the list back of everybody that gives information on the show, and then you write to, who would you write to? Susan Goldstein, and she will give you what you want to know. Until next time, this is Vicki Lawrence wishing you happiness in your home and wherever you go. We're happy to let you know where to write for more information and material about any feature seen on today's program. Please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Great American Homemaker, care of USA Network, P.O. Box USA, Glen Rock, New Jersey, 07452, and we'll send you the addresses of everyone on our show.
Next, join the Alive and Well gang as they show you how to get fit and stay healthy. Then host Alan Funt sets people up for the unexpected. Don't miss the funny reactions on the Candid Camera Hour at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, right after Alive and Well. Next.
Vicki Lawrence's wardrobe designed by Ned Gould for NR1. While in Portland, Oregon, our staff enjoyed the comforts of the Westin Benson Hotel. And in Cincinnati, we stayed at the world-class Vernon Manor Hotel.